Welcome everyone to today's advanced e-commerce session. And we're covering today selecting the right platform. I'm Collins Rex. I'm a director with the Global Trade Professionals Alliance. And the Global Trade Professionals Alliance is an organization that cultivates international standards within the industry. And our aim is to create a trade environment that is both inclusive and trusted by all. The GTPA has partnered with Global Victoria to deliver this comprehensive export skills program. And of course, this session, and indeed this module, is just one of many in the program. So for details of the full program and to register for all the other workshops and webinars, please visit the address that you see on your screen. I'd just like to draw your attention to the disclaimer. Remember that information that we impart is of a general nature and not specific to your business. So please consider your own circumstances and get professional advice. And also note that the webinar is being recorded. I begin today by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land on which we meet, and which for me is the land of the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation. And I extend my respects to elders past, present, and emerging. And that respect is also extended to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples joining us online today. As I mentioned, I'm Collins Rex. I'll be looking after you over the course of this session. And as always, if you have any questions, please feel free to type them in the chat box. I'll keep an eye on that, and I'll take the questions as they come through if they're relevant to the current section of the presentation. Otherwise, we'll keep them to the end, but don't wait until you get to the end because you might have forgotten your questions. So please type them in the chat box as we go along. So let's think about what we're going to be talking about today. Today is all about selecting the right e-commerce platform. And of course, when we're talking about a platform, we need to be distinguishing between platforms and marketplaces. So in today's session, we're going to look at that all-important difference between the two. We're going to look at selecting the right platform for your business, and very importantly, for your business and your product and service, because of course, not all platforms are created equal. And we're going to end today's session with a look at some of the top platforms and a little bit of a summary of all of those. So platforms versus marketplaces. An e-commerce platform is a software application that allows online businesses, whether they are small businesses or indeed enterprise scale businesses, to easily manage their websites, marketing, sales operations, and that includes the building of an e-shop. Essentially, a platform is a central hub or a home base for your business. Now, by contrast, a marketplace is a specific type of platform business model that focuses on facilitating exchanges between buyers and sellers. And there are two types of platforms: exchange platforms, and marketplaces are exchange platforms and market platforms. Now, using the terminology platform in relation to a marketplace can be a little bit confusing, but essentially a marketplace is an environment very much like the physical marketplace of old, where you sell your wares. So platform is how you design the shop, indeed design the market, and then the platform extends into the marketplace where you sell. So today we're going to be talking about platforms. Later on in this series, we will be covering marketplaces as well and looking at the ones that are best suited to certain sectors. But today, all about platform, and let's start off by talking about SaaS. So SaaS is software as a service, and the vast majority of new online stores choose to go with the SaaS solution. So why is this? Well, SaaS solutions are comparatively low cost in terms of entry level. There are no costly development or technical headaches. They generally have a scalable framework that's designed to help you grow, and SaaS e-commerce platforms remove much of the complexity from running an online business. So they take care of product updates, security hosting, PCI, which is payment card industry compliance, and various other aspects. And they do that very quickly, very easily, and actually quite seamlessly. Headless e-commerce is another term that is really important to get a handle on when you're thinking about selling online through your own website. Headless e-commerce is an e-commerce solution that offers online businesses far more control over their storefront. So headless commerce is very much the future of e-commerce. And essentially what headless e-commerce is a decoupling of the shopping cart from the content management system of your website. Now, what does this mean in practical terms? Instead of running your entire website on an e-commerce platform, you can use a CMS like WordPress, for example, to design the experiential component of your website, and then you plug in the e-commerce shopping cart solution to serve as the cart. Now, why would you want to do this? Well, because it gives you more customization and personalization options. And it all does that while you choose the best e-commerce platform solution for your e-shop. So essentially, you can make changes to the shopping component of your site without affecting the basic functionality of your site. That means your home page, all the general information pages about your business, etc., remain the same. You can just work on the shopping cart component when you need to upload new products, for example, change pricing, etc. So if you are currently already conducting e-commerce and you haven't considered headless e-commerce as an option, you really should be looking at going that way. Of course, if you have an online presence, whether it be a straight website or whether it be an e-commerce enabled website, your website is hosted somewhere. And there are two ways in which e-commerce sites can be hosted. They can be self-hosted or they can be hosted in the cloud. So when we look at the two different ways of hosting, self-hosted e-commerce platforms require online store owners to find hosting themselves, deal with installations, perform updates to the software manually, etc. So on the downside, you may have to take your website offline to perform any updates. The solution is also usually very costly because it means you need developers to maintain and update your website. Also important to realize that you may not be able to make updates or edits without external help. And that means you also lose a lot of control of your online store. Now, on the positive side of self-hosted platforms, you have more control over your online retail platform. So even though you might lose control of your store, you have greater control of the retail platform. You have greater visibility of your own data. And of course, you have a far better understanding of data security because you control it all. Now, if your business is really complex or it is a large business and you're now moving into e-commerce, this is probably an option that you want to consider, but it's not really the ideal way for smaller businesses and particularly newer businesses to go. So let's look at cloud-hosted e-commerce platforms. In simple terms, cloud-hosted e-commerce platforms take on the responsibility of managing your store's uptime. And that is the period that your website, your service, is available online. Now, cloud-hosted e-commerce platforms do manage a very high percentage of uptime simply because they have enormous servers that sit in the cloud. Some of them claim up to 99.9% of uptime, which of course is vitally important if you are wanting to sell 24/7. Now, also important to note, though, that not all cloud-hosted e-commerce platforms offer automatic installations of patches, updates, or upgrades. Only SaaS and headless e-commerce solutions do that. So with the basics out of the way, let's look at how you go about selecting the right platform for your business and your product or service. So when you're thinking of selecting that all-important platform, at the very least, your chosen platform should come with a hosting environment, and that means a domain name, year-over-year uptime, and of course, adequate bandwidth. An in-product e-commerce website builder needs to be stock standard, and this also creates a user-friendly site theme and drag and drop functionality. Your chosen platform should come with extensive app stores that have pre-built integration and add-ons. And some of those add-ons could include social media, email marketing engines, etc. They also need to provide all of these with best-in-class service providers. Your site, and this I cannot stress enough, your platform needs to come with a mobile optimized site or a mobile app with UX-friendly checkouts. You really do need to be able to sell through mobile sites. If your site only works well on a desktop, you will be losing an enormous amount of customer. And the user experience, the UX, is all important if you're wanting people to interact, stay on your site for longer, and indeed purchase. And then, of course, PCI compliance should also come as standard. Some other things you need to be looking at. You need to have visibility into your inventory, your stock management across all your sales channels. There need to be SEO tools and fully customizable URLs throughout the site so that you can easily rank on leading search engines. There needs to be built-in basic e-commerce features, and this includes promotions, discounts. You need to be able to analyze your data. You need to be able to manage your catalogs and inventory, etc. Goes without saying, your chosen platform should have great customer support. There also needs to be some sort of abandoned cart recovery tool mechanism, and you need the ability to sell an unlimited number of products. And this is whether you have physical products that you list or you're selling digital products. So you might have courses, you might have software that you sell through your site, digital downloads, etc. If your site is limiting the number of products that you can list, your platform is limiting that, you will run into trouble because you might have a relatively small range today, but your range will almost certainly grow over time, and it can be very expensive to expand if you don't have that in from day one. So when you're choosing the platform, you really need to be asking the right questions. And once you've asked those questions, you need to start a free trial. Most platforms will give you a free trial. You need to read the conditions very carefully because some of them will give you the free trial and then automatically bill you afterwards, and you could be locked into a contract you didn't want. But it really is important to try before you buy. So let's look at some of those questions. You need to ask, is there a limit to the number of products you can sell? What are the transaction fees? How do they work? How are they administered? Is it a transaction fee that is levied on every single product you sell? Or is it a transaction fee that is levied monthly or quarterly or annually, irrespective of how many products you sell? How do you manage your inventory? So how do you upload stuff in the site? How do you get things from your warehouse through the site? What payment options do you have? So what does your platform, the ones that you're considering, how does that platform work with your current payment gateway? If you haven't already got your gateway in place because you're just starting out, your platform might in fact dictate the gateway that you can use. So do they, for example, accept PayPal? Is it a payway site, etc.? And how much does it cost for you to integrate these payment options? What options can you offer for shipping through the platform? Can you offer overnight or indeed same day if you are selling domestically? There was a time when we could also offer same day for some international locations. That will probably return, but at the moment, of course, we still don't have full capacity in international airlines, so that's a little bit more problematic today. What are your options for themes, for example, and how customizable are those themes? Is the platform optimized for mobile devices, and can it easily be customized for mobile? Is it equipped with industry-best search engine optimization? And that is vitally important so that you can rank highly on Google, which is still the major search engine, and drive more traffic to your store. Of course, if your site is being aimed exclusively at a market where Google is not prevalent, you also want to ensure that your platform comes with SEO optimization for those other search engines. And of course, what is customer service like? And does it cost extra? Some platforms throw in customer service on an almost unlimited basis. Some of them charge after a minimum amount. So you might, for example, get 5 hours of customer service a month, and after that, you're going to pay for the service, and you're going to pay a relatively steep rate. So check that up front. Also determine which platform is best for your store's design. Remember that your site's design is a fundamental part of your business. If you had a bricks and mortar store, the way in which that store is laid out, merchandised, the sign writing in the store, etc., is all geared towards reflecting your business's personality. Similarly, your online presence has to be yours, and it has to reflect your values, your core interests, what your customers are looking for, etc. Remember, this is your first point of contact with your consumers, and consumers today are used to and expect excellent web design and UX. Now, later on in this series, we're going to spend a lot more time on web design and also on designing an e-shop that really does work. So we will be going into more detail, but bear in mind that it is really important that both your website and your e-shop work for your customer base. Look specifically for attention to device size, ease of use, customizability, and scalability over time. And scalability is very important because you start one size, and if things are successful, as we certainly hope they will be, your business will grow, and therefore your site and your shop needs to be able to scale with you. Start those free trials on your platform choices. So select a handful of platforms and then upload some filler content to the back end. Preview your site on multiple themes, see what looks best, see what works best for you, and check all of those details, including device size, ease of use, etc. Very important that you get a handle on that. You also need to test the store functionality and the ease of use. And that means there are a few issues that you need to be across. First of all, there's the setup flow. Does the platform offer an easy setup flow that explains everything you need to do before you launch? And that includes loading products, setting up any taxes, so GST leveraging, for example, domain name registration, payment processing, and all of the others. Product and SKU management. So can you bulk upload products from CSV files? Because this is a much quicker way of adding products than doing it individually once you've got the basic setup. An unlimited product or SKU count is something that you also want to be able to do, and make sure that your platform allows this, especially if you have a large and growing catalog of products. Does it have a one-click app marketplace? So you'll definitely want to have a whole bunch of one-click apps that are built in integrations so that you can grow without having to hire in developers to come up with bespoke applications for you. Use the platform's app store and have a look to see what's there and how you can integrate those tools. And also make sure that you are able to update all of those apps in real time. Then there's centralized channel management. So the current state of e-commerce thrives on omni-channel strategies. And again, later in this series, we're going to be looking in more detail at omni-channel. Whether you realize it or not, customers shop everywhere, anywhere, all the time, whether it's through social media platforms like Facebook or marketplaces like Amazon. They're shopping everywhere all the time and very often simultaneously. So your store and your products need to be exposed to audiences over all sorts of channels. And that means you need to be able to centralize that channel management. Scalability, customizability. Mentioned those several times already, but it is really very important. Your business is going to grow and you need to know that your site will grow with you. So what kind of support will you need? Not just today, but into the future. Might be hard to predict, but you really need to err on the side of caution. Many brands do use APIs to customize and automate their stores, and this depends on need over time. Businesses just starting out aren't quite at this point, but it is something you want to plan for if you intend to scale. You also need to plan this stepping stone and look for platforms with trusted and fast APIs. And when you consider your options, you'll want to make sure that you're thinking long term. Don't let a lack of fast tech limit your success. So let's now look at some platforms and also some of the things you need to consider at the very least when you are comparing platforms. You need to consider which platforms are best for your size of business, the sort of SEO that you're aiming for, the specific sector that you're in, etc. Also look at value. Value for money is very important. You might have a site that on the surface is actually quite cheap, but once you start delving into that platform and you realize that you have to pay extra for apps, you have to pay extra for certain customization, etc., a cheap site can very easily turn into a very expensive one. Also look at the features offered by that platform and how easily you can use them. What is the performance of the platform? And look at reviews. If you look at online reviews of all the platforms that you're considering, you will get answers to all of these questions from users of the platform. How easy is it to use? How easy is it to customize? What are the design themes that are given as stock standard? And again, you might have a small selection that is offered for free as part of your initial contract. Anything that you want that is more complicated, better looking, etc., might cost more. So understand how that works. How does this platform integrate with anything that you might already be using? And that includes things like payment gateways, but it could also include stock management systems, content management systems, and so forth, and the all-important mobile performance. So the top e-commerce platforms globally, and this is currently based on the number of users. This changes all the time. The top 5 or so tend to remain fairly consistent. They might move up and down a little bit within the rankings. And again, some of the rankings vary because they use different metrics. But if we look at users, this is how they sit today. It's BigCommerce, Shopwide, Shopify, Wix, and Xyro, followed by Shift4Shop, WooCommerce, Volusion, Sellfy, Squarespace, and Magento. Today, we're not going to go through all of them, but we are going to look at the top 5 to give you a sense of what they're all about, what works, what doesn't work, and that will also then give you a really good sense of the sorts of questions that you need to ask when you're looking at your own platform. So question has just come through, what is the source of the top 5? As I said, this is based, and a number of different sites have metrics where they look at the number of users of these platforms. So this is what this is based on. It's users over the platforms. So starting off with BigCommerce, it's got a robust product search engine, which makes it ideal for larger retail brands, but it's also a good choice for people who want to start an e-commerce store for the first time, or who have a brick and mortar store and want to expand their operation to include online orders. The interface allows you to customize your online shop without you having to know how to code, because it has a lot of templates that are easy to use. And those templates allow you to design your store, to sell, and to market your products. So on the positive side of BigCommerce, it's flexible and it's scalable. It excels with multi-channel selling. It has strong SEO performance. It has great theme designs, and it has a pretty comprehensive abandoned cart feature. On the downside, speeds can be inconsistent, so it's not always as quick as you might want it to be. It can be expensive for high volume stores, and cart abandonment, even though it is a feature, isn't available on the entry-level plans. You have to go to a more advanced plan in order to get that feature. Shopwired next, it serves customers across the globe, so it's pretty international, and it does rank very high in terms of features, performance, ease of use, and various other aspects. It's priced similarly to the major players, Shopify and BigCommerce, even though it is a smaller platform. All plans include one-click upsells, digital products, personalized products, product export, import, and a whole heap of other features. Many of the features that require a paid add-on with some of the others, like Shopify and BigCommerce, are available for free as long as you buy the basic plan with this one. It is a really good B2B site through the features that it offers. And it makes it easy for store owners to create trade accounts, which of course is vitally important if you're selling B2B as opposed to B2C, credit accounts, bulk discounts, quote request systems, etc. So if B2B is what you're aiming at as opposed to B2C, then Shopwired is a platform you want to think about. On the positive side, very fast load time, easy to set up and use. As I said, great for B2B. Custom theme design service is available. On the downside, its SEO traffic management is just so-so, so you'll have to do some extra work there. And some apps and extensions do need coding for installation, so you're going to have to get in an expert, and it doesn't work particularly well with Amazon. That assuming that you use Amazon as a marketplace, of course. Shopify is the best platform at selling. If you plan to drop ship, whether you rely on Facebook ads or Instagram marketing, then this is the best choice. It's easy to set up an online store with Shopify's drag and drop interface, and most beginners to website development can get the hang of it in a really short space of time. Lots of apps, way too many to even list, and they have Shopify point of sale for simple brick and mortar stores looking to take payments via the mobile app. So if you're not selling via e-commerce, you have a brick and mortar store, you just want to take payments through a mobile app, you can use Shopify for that. And complex stores can certainly use it too. So the pros are very fast load time, very easy to set up, lots of certified partners to help you. And Shopify also has a whole team of users who also act as advisors. There's one-click selling, multiple channel and social selling, lots of themes, great designs, etc. On the downside, not great in SEO, unable to customize the checkout process. Apps can add up and they become costly. So even though there are lots of them, if you go to the candy store, so to speak, and you choose a lot of different apps, you're going to pay for it. And for those more advanced features, you will need a developer. Looking now at Wix. Wix is a major force in the e-commerce space. They deliver value for solopreneurs, so people who have one-person shops, and small e-commerce businesses. The e-commerce features have got a lot better over time. When they first started out, they were a little bit iffy, but they now offer multi-channel integration, abandoned cart, dropship, and print-on-demand capabilities. It is friendly to new users. You can drag and drop elements, you can add great videos. It pretty much lets you create the website you want. And they've got over 500 themes, 72 of those are free. So as I said a little bit earlier on, in many of the cases, you've got a basic suite of themes that you can choose from. But if you want to get the fancier, schmicker ones, you're going to have to pay extra for them. One of the downsides, and this is something to bear in mind, whatever theme you choose at the time of publishing your site, you are pretty much stuck with. So you can't change your mind partway through as your business grows, for example. So on the positive side, really simple to use and set up, on-page support for numerous needs, lots of free themes. On the cons, SEO again isn't great. Security is not always the best. It lacks upselling features and advanced automation, and it can be difficult to fully customize a template. And then let's look at Xyro as the last platform that we consider. It's an affordably priced SaaS platform that is targeted specifically at small businesses. It is a relative newcomer, but it's a product from a web hosting company, and that web hosting company is Hostinger. So you do have some pretty good bones to this. They also offer a variety of AI tools to help business owners. And some of those tools will help you create logos and favicons, for example, resize, upscale, remove backgrounds from images, create your business name and slogan, and come up with blog post titles and write content and all sorts of other great things. In addition to drag and drop builder to customize your site, there is a variety of free themes to use as a basis for your design, and it allows you to sell digital and physical products. Now, you must use the business online store or advanced store plans to take advantage of the online store features. On the positive side, unlimited storage and bandwidth on all plans, AI tools to handle many tasks, marketing integrations, including all plans, and again, on the downside, room for improvement on SEO. So if anything is a common theme in all the platforms we've looked at today, it's that SEO needs work in most of them. So that is definitely something that you want to be thinking about when you are selecting a platform, if SEO is really important to you. So a question has just come through from Paul, wanting to know if I have any thoughts on emerging, most improved, or the one to watch. I'm assuming you mean platform there, and thoughts on Webflow. You know, it's an interesting question, Paul, but it's also a really difficult one to answer because this changes so quickly and it changes all the time. It also depends on the type of business you're in, but I would say that probably there are two that I would highlight as ones that are probably offering some of the best features around Webflow, but also indeed around those features that make it easy for you to design and operate your online business. And that would be BigCommerce and Shopify. Those are certainly the two that I would say. But again, bear in mind, this is my opinion. You have to do your own research and find out what works best for you. Rogers, you asked, do we have some of these top 5 based in Australia? Yes, you can certainly very easily access BigCommerce and Shopify, but you can access all of these because they're all available through SaaS platforms online. You don't have to have a physical presence in any country in order to use any of these, but the bigger ones certainly also have offices in Australia. So when we're looking at the best platforms for certain aspects, just a few that I've highlighted today. If you're a small business, BigCommerce, WooCommerce, and Wix probably work best for you. For startups and beginners, and this is businesses that haven't yet started trading, BigCommerce, WooCommerce, and Shopify, because they are so easy to use. If you're a drop shipper, and in the past, if you attended last year's sessions, you know what drop shipping is. If you're not entirely familiar with that, drop shipping, you don't contain any stock. You get the orders from your customers. Those are passed on to your suppliers, essentially, and your suppliers produce and fulfill on demand. It looks as if it comes from you, but it actually comes directly from the supplier. Shopify is great for drop shipping, and BigCommerce is pretty good for drop shipping as well. If you're a big business and you have a really complex range of products, etc., BigCommerce, Xcart, and Magento. And some of these, so Magento, for example, which we haven't covered today, simply in the interests of time, Magento is one of those that is used by a number of large companies, and amongst others, it's used by Tesla. And in case you're wondering about the list that I showed you, that wasn't ranked either. That was just, it was a random list, but based, so from 1 to 11, I think it was, not necessarily the best selling and the lowest selling, is just within those 11, the rankings are the best selling ones in the world today. So, you know, just because Magento comes at the end doesn't mean it's not as important as some of the others. And that brings us to the end of today's session. So we've gone through quite a lot of information in a relatively short space of time. I think very important, though, to get a sense of what platforms are all about, how they work, and very importantly, how you make some decisions for yourself and your business when you are selecting a platform, because the platform that is right for your business might not be right for the business down the road, and vice versa. If you do have any questions, please feel free to type them in that chat box. And while we wait for questions to come through, just a sense of what we're going to be covering in some of the other sessions. So we're going to be looking at building an e-shop. We're going to be covering marketplaces, omni-channel retail, building a website in 2022, which of course is different from just your e-shop. We're also going to be looking at advanced digital marketing, because you can't run an online business without having a handle on digital marketing. We're going to be touching on automation and efficiency. We're going to do a bit of future gazing with the application of new technologies. And we're also going to take a deep dive into data and making the most of the data that you have access to. Paul, you've asked if I have any thoughts on the cutting edge best practices for e-commerce these days. Don't know much about automation, you say. Much of e-commerce can be automated, absolutely. Just about every good business is doing it. I'm not even going to answer that question for you now, because as I've just highlighted, we're going to be covering all of those things going forward, including exactly what is working in e-commerce and what is not working in e-commerce today from a website perspective, SEO, etc. So reserve those questions, because I think you'll find that all of those questions will be answered as we move through the series. So I certainly hope you'll be able to stay with us and attend all of those as we move along over the course of the rest of this program. And indeed, you've mentioned that some of the sessions are in person. You can only join the online sessions. Absolutely understand that. In terms of the in-person sessions, there are 2 of them. And the one is the workshop on building an e-shop, which is our next session, and the omni-channel retail one. What we will do, though, Paul, for people like yourself who can't make it into the physical workshops, all the decks that are used in those physical workshops and any handouts or anything that might be part of those will be made available to you online as well, so you won't miss out. And I'm always happy if there's anything there that you think you might have missed, to have a quick one-on-one session with you as well, to talk you through some of the issues that might have occurred there. So we can certainly do that. And no, they will not be streamed. Unfortunately, the facilities in the government facilities we use don't lend themselves to streaming. So the two, and there are only two in e-commerce that are face-to-face, will not be streamed, but you will get access to the information that is imparted at those. On your screen now, you see the URL for the Export Skills Program activities. So please register for all the upcoming sessions if you can, and not just in this module, but in all the others as well that cover things like cybersecurity. There's an advanced marketing masterclass. We've going to be looking at standards and certification and international business rules as well. If you would like a copy of today's slides, feel free to drop me an email and I will let you have a copy of the deck. And also, as I mentioned before, this particular webinar is being recorded, as indeed all of them are, and they will all be made available to you through Global Victoria's website in due course. So bear that in mind as well. It doesn't look as if we've got any further questions. Thank you, everyone, for your attention, and indeed for the questions that we did have coming through as well. I look forward to meeting you face-to-face at the next workshop, which is a week from today, and that's happening at International Chamber House in Melbourne. And if you aren't able to attend that one and you do want the information, as I say, just drop me an email and we'll get some information to you. All that remains is to say thank you for your company. I look forward to seeing you at the next one, and have a wonderful afternoon and do some good business. Goodbye.